As you notice, it says, as you enter, please change your name to your first and last name and the grade level and subject you teach. That'll just help us in your screen name identifier. That'll help us determine what subject you're in, what grade you're in, because this is offered for grades 6 through 12. So if you have a specific question, we can try and locate that grade level and subject level resource for you. And then also in the Do Now, once you've joined the Google Classroom, I know it's very wordy, but under the topic, session 1, creating and using the mastery grid, please open the material assignment that's titled First Days of School Mastery Grid. And as we're waiting for everybody to join in, if you could just read the objectives and standards paragraph that we threw together on August 17th, and the where to begin paragraph and the vocabulary. And this was the mastery grid that we used to teach the mastery grid through the mastery grid. Just as all of your first days of school assignments, we just copied and pasted those in there. So if you could look at that and kind of think of what activities you do at the beginning of the year, and think of how easily they could just be inserted into each of the cells per level, and share any cool ideas that you think of as you're looking at the First Days of School Mastery Grid, which is in our Google Classroom.
We'll give you another minute and then we'll go through and introduce ourselves. I know we still have some people joining. So as Mr. Chilcote said, as you come in, just look over the Do Now, open up, join the Google Classroom, and then open up those assignments and just kind of think about what you did the first days of school. And if you could add any of those onto your own mastery grid to teach how to use the mastery grid. We also have a joke for you. Lincoln, this is you.
I do.
Yep. So here's our joke of the day by Mr. Cobb, the teacher of the year. If you did not know that, he was the teacher of the year. So here's your joke of the day by Mr. Cobb. Taking the healing.
So the joke of the day goes like this. What does Winnie the Pooh, Ivan the Terrible, and Alexander the Great have in common? They all have the same middle name. You see, that's funny because they all have the in the middle there. That's their middle name. That's why that one's funny.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the presentation, and we are recording this if anyone misses parts of it or needs to go back. So I'm Steve Watson. I teach 8th grade science here. I've been at Princeton for 14 and a half years. James.
I'm James Chilcote, 8th grade science, and I've been here at Princeton. This is my 4th year here at PCMS.
I'm Lincoln Cobb. I teach 8th grade science, and this is my 26th year here at Princeton.
And hello, everybody. My name is Kirby, and I have been teaching here for not even a year yet. So, and I teach 8th grade science as well.
No, did I? All right. So we are going to, hopefully by the end of today, make you more comfortable with creating a grid to help your students really differentiate their learning and really help you be more organized with everything. And we have found in science that it really helps with the organization for the team and for the students, and just kind of letting those gifted students and honor students sort of push ahead, where and the lower level learners that are kind of struggling with this stuff. We used to have 70 assignments in a quarter, literally. I mean, I took pictures of it. I had 72 assignments in one quarter, because we were giving them, do nows and exit tickets, and we'd had an assignment every day. And so it was a lot. And so, looking at this grid method kind of helped us break it down to where, okay, it's a lot more organized. And we also started using standards-based grading, which really went well with the mastery grid. So right now, what we would like you to do is Mr. Slater is going to talk about the kind of templates and where you can find stuff about the grid. Yeah.
So hey everybody, my name is Mr. Slater, and again, I teach 8th grade science with all of them. And just a little bit about the mastery grid. When you kind of set it up, it's easiest to almost have a blank template in front of you and kind of throw all of your assignments that you have maybe for one unit together on that. When we start going through this, we've made edits to every single one of our mastery grids constantly throughout the year. So there's not just one perfect grid. You're going to make changes all the time. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind while you're working through it. If you kind of get, discouraged, I mean, we make changes again, almost every single unit. Really quick, if you guys are in our Google Classroom, you'll see that there is a blank template there for you. If you do go to that, this is the template that we use. There's actually quite a bit of different templates that they have on the Teach Better website, but we've thought this one was the easiest to kind of, put our thoughts down and organize. So as you can tell on the screen here, the blank template has each of our levels. We start off normally down at the bottom where it says level 1. Level 1 is, we're talking about depth of knowledge. So this is more define and recall information, vocab words, definitions, matching, things like that. And as you go through it, you'll work your way up through our mastery grid, which we'll talk a little bit more about as you kind of start putting pieces together. The template that we have here, if you guys want, it is on our Google Classroom. You can make a copy of that and keep that off to the side. So when you guys break out, edit that as much as you want. It is, again, beneficial to kind of put your information, put your assignments down on paper first, kind of see how it looks, and then edit it from there. But as you work through the master grid, you'll notice that it continues going up the depth of knowledge level. So it goes from level 1 to level 2. Level 2 is apply and demonstrate. Level 3, compare and contrast. And then once you get to level 4 and level 5, this is more of enrichment activities. In science, we use a choice board for this. The choice board is, an option for them to do different projects, which can end up, being review if a student makes a project that's awesome. So again, when you guys go in your breakout groups, it'll be extremely beneficial to start throwing your assignments down on paper to see, okay, is this level 2, apply and demonstrate? Is this level 3, compare, contrast? As you continue working through this. So going back to the PowerPoint, if we go to the next slide here. Oh, the Teach Better website, if you guys look on the top right page here, this is the website where we got our mastery grid from. Chad, who talked to the middle school this 2 weeks ago, kind of gave us a little bit of an intro to what the mastery grid is. This website here has all the information you need. Not only information, it has different examples of mastery grids. So definitely look at that website after we're done kind of giving this presentation. So the next slide here, same information, except on the top left, Mr. Chilcote kind of talked about this a little bit, but it's our first day of school mastery grid. This is definitely beneficial if you guys are looking on how to use the mastery grid, how to introduce it. This is actually not just for science. You guys can take this example of the first day mastery grid and apply it to your class. It teaches them how to use the grid, how to use different things, such as, you know, how do I make a copy, or how do I go to my Google Drive? So again, if we click on the first day school mastery grid, we can go and kind of see what exactly that is. Again, so here's that first day of school mastery grid. What I would do is kind of keep this off to the side, look through it. If you look, it has, you know, Princeton's values here. We use this for the first like 2 weeks of school to get them used to what our classroom expectations are, but also how to use this mastery grid, how to use our Google Classroom, how to use resources in our class. So we actually introduced the mastery grid by using our mastery grid. So again, once you guys break out, this would be another great resource to kind of keep off to the side, look through this, because again, you can basically use this into your classroom by just copying it down. So if we continue one more slide through the PowerPoint here, the next one we have are all different examples of mastery grids that we use in our class. So we label our grids by the standard in which they are. So if you look on the left side, PS means physical science. So that means each one of these are physical science mastery grids, and it gives a little example of what they go over. So we have electricity and magnetism, friction, force, and motion. Yeah. So this is an example of a completed mastery grid for friction, force, and motion. So what we do at the top, and again, it would be extremely beneficial when you guys break away to kind of keep one of these to the side too, just to give you an idea how to organize it. You'll see that we locate our standards at the top of the page there. We have our focus standard, which is in bold, and then underneath it, we have the substandards for it. So the things that we're going to be diving a little more into. We always list our vocab words at the top there, and then we go through each of the levels. Again, with the mastery grid, you'd start on level 1. So if you look down at the bottom there, we have all of our define and recall assignments listed here at level 1. If you notice though, underneath level 1, there's a level tutorial. So this is something that is extremely nice with the mastery grid. It actually gives you an area for students who are struggling. So say a student gets through level 1, doesn't master, so 70% are higher in our classes master. They don't master that. They can actually go down to tutorial where we do small group activities with them that can benefit those students who are struggling. So again, I don't want to keep talking here. And you know, continue showing you guys examples. I would just keep this off to the side so you guys can use that as you go. And again, there's more examples here of our grids. And then if you have any questions, definitely reach out to us. But Mr. Cobb, the teacher of the year, can take it away here.
Oh wait, I need to unmute. So as you can see, by Steve sharing his screen, we are fans of multiple tabs. He has like 70 tabs open or something at any one time, which is why when we keep saying throw it off to the side, we're pretty comfortable with tabs. So that's how we roll with that. Now, this is an example of what a level 1 might look like for us. So we've got a vocab day, we've got where they either work on vocab on a sheet where they write out definitions and sentences and all that sort of stuff. Or we also have recorded some videos on Edpuzzle, where we kind of talk them through the notes and they have to answer multiple choice questions about the definitions of words. There's some reading in there and some basic getting at the vocab activities. And then Friday, we end that with an assessment that focuses on vocab and recall. And then after that assessment on Friday, if they show mastery, they'll go on to level 2. If not, they'll go down to the tutorial level and work on those activities so that then they can do a retake of the assessment. And when they do a retake in our class, that retake grade replaces their original assessment grade from the first time. And then the next.
Do you want to answer that question, the assessment one?
So we do, this year, we do generally have assessments every Friday. And we kind of like that rotation for us right now. Last year, when we started using mastery grids, we did not. They would be kind of whenever it worked out. This year, we're kind of working a little harder to make sure they happen every Friday, to kind of give the kids the extra structure so that when they're not here, they know a little better what to expect every week. So what you see here is what a week of assignments would look like on our Google Classroom. So this is one way that we do it, where we post the assignments individually every day, and then everything they need in those assignments on Google Classroom. If they need a document or a video link, those would be in those assignments for the week. Including on Friday, we have a link to GradeCam for them, so they can click on that and log in right away. And I think the next slide goes through another way to post, because we don't all post our, okay. Steve's gonna talk about how he posts his, because he doesn't post, that's whatever.
So another way to post the mastery grid is I actually just post the entire thing. And so the students are able to click on these different assignments. And so they would click on this, and when you click on it, it's going to have them make a copy of it. And so to do that, once you've hyperlinked this, which we go over in a video, right here where it says edit, if you just take that out and write copy, every time the students go to open that assignment, they've made a copy of it for themselves. And so now when a student opens this, they have their own copy. And now I don't have to worry about posting all those assignments. It's a little bit easier for me, not having to, make sure that everything is posted on Google Classroom for each individual day. They just know to use the mastery grid. So that's just a different way of looking at it. But this is an example of one of the activities that we've made everything digital. So if you want to learn how to make all of these things digital, you'll be able to in our next session. This is one of the tracker sheets that the students use. So they are actually keeping track of what they've gotten done. So they go in here, and when a student finishes an assignment, they'll put done, and then I know they're done with that. So that's one way to do that. Our next session is right after this, but we want to make sure you have time to work on a mastery grid. And so that's where we are going to spend the last part of this session doing. So James is going to kind of talk to you about getting it started, and then we're going to open up breakout rooms, and we'll kind of do it by subjects. We'll type it in there. Like if you're social studies, you're going to go to breakout room 1. If you're math, you're going to go to breakout room 2. If you're science, you're going to go to breakout room 3. And if you're English, you're going to go to breakout room 4. And you'll just select that. And then when you're in there kind of working on those, one of us will be in there to sort of walk you through the individual steps. But just the biggest thing is just trying it. Make a mastery grid. And Dr. Maxim has said he does want everyone in 3 years to be using these more. So it's definitely something that I feel like it's better to kind of get ahead of and start practicing and just getting one in. And right now is the perfect time, because you do have more time than any other school year. You're never going to have an hour and a half at the end of your day to kind of do what you need to do. And it's a perfect time to try something different and see if that helps in your classroom. When we first started this, James and Lincoln were not quite on board. And I actually had a student teacher, his name was Kirby Slater, and that was actually him. And I had a meeting that morning that I was going to tell James and Lincoln that I was going to start using the mastery grid on Monday.
But no, he delegated that responsibility to his student teacher to inform the current science teaching staff that this is the change that we were making.
So Lincoln, who had taught a couple of years, wasn't too excited that he was learning that I was now going to be trying this mastery grid. And a student teacher was telling Lincoln what he was going to be doing. So he got over it eventually, and he has, you can ask him, it has made things a lot more easier on us in the classroom, and the students have definitely, they've shown a lot more progress than we did before, forcing everyone to be on the exact same assignment. So I just kind of wanted to make you aware of that. So James is going to tell you how to get it organized and get started. Then we'll go off to the breakout rooms.
Okay, so what I want you to think about is this first mastery grid that you're going to be starting today, or one that you've already started in one of the PD days with Chad, is just think of it as your rough draft. Think of it as your rough draft, your sloppy rough draft. Just get the assignments down in the grids. And the way that I had to explain it to my remote students is you're giving the students your lesson plans. I mean, imagine Dan Rebellis giving the students his big folded that he hand wrote. He's giving the students each one of those, each a copy of each of it. Don't think about the logistics of how you're going to make it work. Just get it down. Just get it down on paper or type it into the electronic copy. And the logistics of it, it genuinely does work itself out. Just the first lesson, second lesson, third lesson, quiz. First lesson, second lesson, third lesson, quiz. That's how I want you to envision creating it. The rest, these three guys disagree with the statement I'm about to make, but I believe that the DOK naturally develops after you have implemented the mastery grid, because the depth of knowledge comes from you being able to have the students know what they're going to be working on next, and you being able to have those individual conversations with them and really go into the depth of the content. And I'm done. More breakout rooms? So we're gonna open up some breakout rooms. You don't have to join. Okay, if you just want to spend the next 25 minutes working in the main chat room, you absolutely can. We want to utilize the breakout rooms for more of an open discussion, because with 24 people in a Zoom, it's difficult to have multiple people talking. So these breakout rooms are kind of our small group, so you can verbalize questions instead of entering them into the chat. And you should be able to join any one that you would like.
If you look in the chat, we did put them by subject. So if you're at Encore, you can go into 3, or ESL, just go into 3. We have social studies in 1, math, go to room 2, and English, go to room 4. And then one of us will be in there to help walk you through those steps and kind of get you working on that. So thank you for joining us, and hopefully you'll be able to get something usable in your classroom by the end of today.
Did you see?
Hold on. All right. If you need me to send you to a breakout room because you don't know how to, let me know and I can assign you to one of the breakout rooms. Ms. Nealon, what do you teach? Language arts, okay.
Who's that? I'm pulling up a 5-paragraph essay, master grid.
Mr. Martin, what do you teach?
I teach social studies.
Okay, I'll send you that room.
I appreciate you.
Yep. All right. Adrian Bargo is the only one in there. So I'm going to assign to room 2. So everyone's joined. All right, I'm joining with Kirby. There's the most people in there.
Get out of here, Steve. Just taking my session note. No, just kidding.
How's my bitch doing? Sorry. I had an itch.
I was wondering why we got stuck with Kirby.
Going to get my shot. See you.
Me too.
Do you not have anybody in your session?
No. So what do you guys need to be able to start a mastery grid?
You could just go ahead and make it for us. That'd be great.
So I am offering that for $300 if you give me all of your assignments. I will have that created in probably a week. If you take everything,
A week?
1 week. All right.
I'm thinking this is gonna take me all summer.
No, the
And
first,
then some.
no, seriously, the first one does. So when I created the first one, Lincoln and I got a professional day, a PD day, and we took all of our assignments for, it was earth science, our first standard for earth science. And we printed, it was like 110 sheets of paper that we had together. And then we had all of our assessments. And we literally just went through, and we had been doing them not necessarily in order of DOK, the depth of knowledge. We were just we would do a harder one and then sort of a review, and then another hard one and then sort of a review. And when we started to do this, it was like, okay, we need to put all of the basic things first. And so we focused on like vocab and fill in the blanks and kind of that direct instruction for that first level. And we found, okay, we have 15 assignments. Well, we don't need all 15 assignments for this first level. Pick the best ones that are going to make it work. And so we handpicked the 4 or 5 assignments that we thought would really help them understand this first level. And then for the assessment, we have, all kinds of release state test questions, which helped us. So we just took the most basic questions for that standard, the lowest DOK levels, and put them as an assessment. Your assessment could be anything. You could make that last assignment on 1D, you could check their last answer and make that your assessment and say, move on. Yes, Missy?
So Steve, do you have them? Because I think what we just need is the time to, because we get binders and binders full of this crap, right?
Yeah.
Not crap, of good instruction.
Quality instruction. Best
Quality stuff.
practices
Some of this
in-
really is good. So I think the good news, it would be good for us to like go through and get rid of some of the stuff that really,
Right.
what we found something better. But so when they actually do it, Steve, like, do they have to do like, is it kind of like a choice board? They have to do 3 of the 5, or do they have to do all 5?
They have to start at 1A,
Okay.
and then they go 1B, and then
Got
they go
you.
1C and 1D.
Okay.
Now, the reason I started using this is because I've been teaching the gifted, and I mean, I was just hammering them because they would get
Yeah.
through so much, and like, okay, I got another thing. And then we started using this, and I use a pretest. And if a kid gets, you'll see like on the front of the mastery grid, if a kid gets a 80%, then they can start at level 2.
Level
If
2,
a kid
okay.
gets a 90%, they start at a level 3. And
Okay.
if they get 100%, they're starting at the level 4. And so most kids won't get to level 4. Kind of view it as level 3 is the short cycle assessment. We get everyone to that point. So when we plan things, it's like, okay, for our lowest kids, you know, they're going to 1 day on this assignment, maybe 2 days on this one. So it'll take us 12 days to get through this mastery grid. You may get through a grid in 1 week. Some people may take a whole quarter on it. It's just kind of how you want to structure it. And so when you do that 1A, 1B, 1C, they take that assessment. People are always like, well, what if a kid fails that? What if they don't understand it? Well, what do you do now with those kids? You know, the people get caught up saying, well, are they going to be at level 1 the whole time? Okay, but eventually you go on to the next assignment, just like you would in any other class. It's not like you're going to have this kid on level 1 of the earth science mastery grid all school year. Like you're going to eventually move them on. In a perfect world, yes, they would keep doing it and they would learn that information and understand that and then be able to move on. But you know, there's kids that they go through the tutorial and still don't understand the definitions. It's 5 vocab words and you're still struggling with those. Like, it's like, okay, we're going to move on. Yes.
We're hogging all the time.
Steve, how do you put it in your grade book? Like, so like the kid, you know what I mean? If this kid's on level 3 and this kid's still doing what, like in your grade book, what's it look like?
Yep.
Do you know what I'm asking?
Yes. So that's why we switched to standards-based grading,
Okay.
because it was a mess.
Oh, the
Yeah,
tabs.
okay.
So when I first did this, and Kathy, I know where I know what
Oh
I'm
my,
going to.
Steve,
Don't
those
quiz
tabs
me.
actually bug me and I'm not.
Don't quiz me.
Even. If
Can I
this is
block that?
requirement, I'm out. I'm out.
That's only one of my internets that are open too. I have 2
I
of them.
can't.
God, my head hurts so bad.
There's 52
Before
tabs.
Chilcote even said anything, I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Yeah, Kathy was texting me, look at his tabs.
So here's what my grade book looks like. And a year ago, this was 2 pages of stuff.
Okay.
So all that I'm doing now is putting in a grade for their weekly assignments. So I'm not giving them an individual grade on 1A, 1B, 1C. They're getting a grade for that week of work. And for us, because I'm doing standards-based grading, it's weighted as 0. It means nothing. But what that tells me is I can talk to the parents and say, well, they only got a 2 out of 10 on this, which means they only did 1 of the assignments for the week, which is why they're doing poorly on the assessment.
So it's like a completion grade in a way.
Yes.
I mean, but you're looking, seeing, did you do 4 of the 5?
Yep. And so like, here is what my grade book looks like. And so I'll have some kids, that like, this is all of their grade right here. These weekly assignments don't impact their grade at all. They're weighted as 0. And they are able to retake the assessments. They need to just email us and we go back and reset it and let them take that. Usually we give them some instruction because it does free you up, because there's going to be kids that just hammer through work and can get through this and you don't even need to talk to them. And those kids that are struggling, it has given us more time to go and work with them and say, hey, you got your assessment wrong. Come here, look, let's go over these again. Okay, I'm going to reset it. Now go try that again. You were confused on this part. Where before I felt like I couldn't really do that. So
We use the interactive notebook and we love it, Steve, So
Mhm.
I'm thinking the grid could work in the sense that could be a choice. Like this day you're putting your vocab in your interactive notebook.
yes.
But the assessments could be, right? Wouldn't have
Yes.
everything be on the computer. It could still be paper,
No.
but you put it in the grid.
So before we made it all digital, across the back of my room, it was great because I had a student teacher last year, and so he would help with the copies. But we would have a bin for 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, and we would put a sticker on it on the wall, and then we would have all the different assignments underneath there. And it was like, okay, when you're done with 1A, turn it in. I check it. Okay, go ahead, go on to 1B. Okay, you're on 1C. So you can totally do it with paper.
Okay.
When they said no more paper, we took it to the extreme and we're like, yeah, let's not print anymore. Let's do it all digitally. And we all divided up the work, and it took us probably 2 or 3 weeks to convert, but we converted every single assignment digitally into slides, and it's been great.
Now you're set. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well-
we have it where you can see, so like it's in another video, but it shows you to where you can make the box red and you highlight it yellow. And then when the kids type in it, I don't even have to open up the thing. I can see on the left-hand side, oh, you've answered all those, and then move on. So it saves you a lot of time grading. And then there's certain questions. Yeah, there's certain questions where I need to know exactly what they're doing. So I'll go in and look at that one. Here's I'll show you one of the assignments. So like this one here, see, Kathy, I knew exactly where it was.
Those tabs.
Yeah.
They're going to write their explanation. So then over here, when you look on the left, so when I open this, if I'm grading them, I can see, okay, he answered that. He's good.
Oh.
Like, and
then you just go to the next kid,
yep.
and then you can see that one too. Like you just, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the nice thing we did too last year a lot was like with these assignments, it's hard to go through randomly in each assignment to like grade. So we would pick like 1 or 2 questions each assignment that were like ideas, just like those when we check. And like it took us like 30 seconds to check on an answer. And then the other thing is when they were done, we were able to have like one-on-one time with them if they got it wrong. So we could like explain like, hey, this is what the right answer was. This is why. So that was nice too. And then Steve, if you want to show the tracker too, this was super beneficial too. To like track their progress. Yeah.
So this is one of my gifted classes. I'll choose a non-gifted class to see, not all the kids do it. Not all the kids are marking this off. So this is for our Life's the Fossil Record, one that we just finished. And so we put the name of the assignment across the top. And so this is all level 1, and then this is level 2, and then this is level 3. And then these kids weren't going to get to level 4 because this year's different because of them only being here for 1 week and then off. So we've definitely condensed what we've done, and we haven't had as many kids get to level 4 where they get to choose an activity. But my gifted kids get there all the time, and they're creating video games. they're creating like these window panes, they're creating activities that like all of the gifted parents saying that they love science. And 3 years ago, I did not have parents saying, oh, my kid loves science. That was not the case. And so that's where it's really been a huge help. And so this tracker sheet allows like now, so when I'm looking at their weekly assignments for this first week, Alex would have got a 10. Sana would have got, because she is still working on this, didn't finish it, a 7 out of 10. A 7 out of 10, you didn't mark that as done, so you're going to not get points for that. So it has really helped the grading go, and the kids see this. Like everyone has editing access on this, and you're like, oh, well, what if they change other people's names and that? And we show them, hey, I can see who did all these edits. I can go back and figure out, oh, you deleted this person's thing, or you changed theirs, and we haven't had anyone mess with anyone else's layers. And it like Jamie's like, oh, wow, I didn't do anything, and everyone else is further ahead than me. So it kind of puts that peer pressure on them also of, okay, I need to be getting things done, not just sitting there on my headphones.
Is that like an honor system, like Ronnie Walker? He really's got all of his work done. Okay, I want to see that, Steve.
Correct. So that if you have them in Google Classroom, I could go on to all of his assignments and check
and see, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like turning it in, but you got to go back and check, make sure they actually did the work.
Yeah. But their assessment's going to tell you that.
Yeah,
like
right.
If a kid lied and said he did all this and he gets a 2 out of 10 on the assessment, he's getting a 20% in the class. I mean, good for you. Like you didn't do any of the work. And then, you know, if parents are questioning, oh, well, you know, what's going on? Okay, let's go look at these assignments. Oh yeah. He didn't do this one. Oh, he didn't do this.
You. Okay.
So I do it because it saves me time and a lot less. I mean, I used to grade the first half of class. I would basically be grading papers, then getting them fixed, and then going on to the next set of grading papers, then entering grade. And you have a lot more free time when you do this.
Okay.
All right. Well, my biggest stumbling block, and we've talked about it too when we try to wrap our brains around this, is our standards. Because we were even, you know, that daunting task, our list of crap that central office wants us to do, trying to, which we're still waiting on our test blueprint because we don't have one. But our standards are just so like general. Like, in order to get them to that, understand that standard, we've got to tell this whole story on how that civilization got there. We can't just say, oh, well, this happened and then that's why. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around what, like, because when we were trying to do those air style do now questions and match them to standards so that they could be matched on a imaginary test blueprint that we have, I was really having a hard time because I was coming up with, you know, the government of China. There's a whole lesson in our textbook and all that on the government of China, but there's really no standard that matches that. The only standard that they have is empires in Africa and Asia grew as commercial and cultural centers along trade routes. That really doesn't have a whole lot to do with their government. But we have a whole lesson in our book.
So I know that.
Yeah.
So I know that like 8th grade, they go by like chapter whenever they're doing it. Maybe making a mastery grid based on each chapter. So use your mastery grid more as like a timeline rather than the standards. And then whatever standard falls in it, just throw it on there. So it's not like you're really focusing on the standard. You're more focusing on the chapter as you work through each one.
Okay. Well, that makes more sense. All that stuff that they sent us kept saying we want it geared towards a standard and every question you have should match a standard. But it's like, well, they need to understand this to understand why that happened. And so I've just been struggling with trying to match every question or everything that I think of for an assessment to a specific standard because ours are so general.
Yeah.
So how many standards?
They pinpoint one specific event, and that's all they're expected to know from this whole time span.
Like we organize it more like on grapes for social studies, like there's a geography, religion, you know, like, and I just think that maybe Kathy, if we got the freedom, that's how we need to think of it instead of standards, because that would make more,
Totally.
yeah.
And you can, you know, play the game. You could put whatever standards you are going to cover, just write those at the top and call it chapter
For the
1.
whole thing. Oh, there you go.
It could be, you know, like for me, I would call it 8.1 fossil record chapter 1. And then you could have a 8.1 fossil record chapter 2, 8.1 fossil record chapter 3.
So we could just do, Missy, like a lesson, like we're in lesson 25 right now with the political development of China. So that would just be a grid for that one lesson in our textbook before we move on to the other. Okay.
That's what I'm gonna get. And we could even do like, that level 1 could just be the geography and vocab. Like it just goes all the way across. You know what I mean? Here's your map, here's your vocab, you know. I don't know. I think if we started with Africa, like a little mini unit, one of our tiny units, that would be a good practice one.
And that's really what we did.
You know?
So we had a one standard that broke up into 2, so destructive and constructive forces. And that's what we started with. We started with like the destructive side of it rather than like doing the whole thing. And that worked pretty well last year.
Just a practice. This really helped, Steve, because I was very overwhelmed by this, but you guys and Kirby, thank you guys so much, because just getting to sort of talk about it has lowered my stress.
Yeah.
You know,
And
so
it is really, I mean, once you start using them, like talk to Lincoln, like he was very much, he's like, this is crazy. I've been teaching 25 years. Now you're changing all this.
right.
And once you start like doing it, it's like, he's like, oh, we need to make another one for this activity. Oh, let's make it for this, because it is really nice managing the class. You know, the kids understand it. They know what they're supposed to do. And I know our room's closing here quickly, and I think everyone's going to be going back to the main one. But, you know, definitely reach out to any of us with specific questions. We want to, you know, help and relieve. So welcome back. If you have any questions, please reach out to Mr. Chilcote, Mr. Fisher, or sorry, not Mr. Fisher, Mr. Cobb, or Mr. Slater. We are all around to help. Thank you for joining us. We do have at 10 o'clock, we're going to show how to make assignments digital. So if you are going to use the Mastery Grid and you don't want to have to make, you know, 12 copies of different assignments and post them across the back of your room, and you want to just make them digital so that the kids can click on them and answer them wherever they're at home or at school or on vacation or they're sick, that's what we're going to be explaining next. Thanks for joining us. We will talk to you soon. Yes, we're recording all of these and we'll share them.
Thank you.
We'll put them in the Google Classroom.
Okay.
So, get up and move, run around for 10 minutes. See you later.
Thanks.
Bye.
Do some push-ups.
Move your arm around if you got that vaccine today.